All right. Welcome, everybody, to Doctor's Opinion number 4. So, changing the format a little bit. The last couple of them, we did strictly open forum, like question answer. And I still want to do some of that in the end. But I'd like to start kind of doing some topical stuff too. And so tonight I wanted to start with depression. Today, a streamer who has been a part of people's lives for years now. He was very popular World of Warcraft streamer, kind of peaked around 5 or 6 years ago, named Rektful, took his own life today. And so I wanted to talk about depression today. So I was not going to talk about that today. I was going to talk about marijuana, actually. And, oh, thank you for the follow. Oh, you know what? Gosh, dang it. Hold on one second. I don't have my alert box on this screen for some reason. Sorry, guys. There, now the alert box is there. I'm sorry. Thank you for the follow. Thanks for joining us. I was going to post an article about what happened this morning. So I know it's a serious topic, pretty somber, sobering topic, but I think it's a really important thing to talk about. And if anyone has any questions or anything about Rektful, who he is, what happened, we can talk about that for a little bit. Because I think that, when someone dies like this, takes their own life, so that they don't die in vain, I think making people aware of this issue and talking about it openly is one way we can honor their death. So, because I've had a couple people ask me, like, well, why do you want to talk about it just because someone, killed themselves today? And I said, that's my answer. If we can make more people aware of this issue, reach out to those they love that are showing signs of this problem, or if you have this problem yourself, and maybe we can save someone's life or make someone's life better. So I think it's an incredibly important topic. So anybody here in chat that's active, or are people kind of playing games and lurking? And it says we have a lot of people in here, but any thoughts before I start talking about some of the things I want to talk about? Because I want to talk about ways to help depression, help treat it, prevent it without using medications. I know that my main training is like, prescribing medications and kind of Western medicine, so to speak. But I think that depression is much better treated without using medicines unless you absolutely have to. Using more natural things like exercise, meditation, mindfulness, animal therapy, music, and here we are on Twitch, video games. So I actually wanted to talk about video games because there's some really interesting scientific information that's been researched in the last 5-10 years that shows how video games affect our brains and how it interacts with depression. So yeah, so if we don't have any questions or any thoughts to start from anyone in chat, I'll just kind of get going. So I like to start off topic like this with just kind of some general overview. I think depression is a really important issue to talk about because it's so common. So it's extremely common. So chances are there are multiple people in this chat room right now that are struggling with depression, and one of them is me. I've been diagnosed with major depressive disorder, severe, by DSM criteria by multiple primary care doctors as well as psychiatrists. And at one point in my life, until actually fairly recently, I was on 2 antidepressants at the same time and going to therapy. And so I know personally what it's like, as well as I treat people with depression as part of my job. So it's extremely common. I mean, the estimate is that, you know, one in like 10 maybe has the clinical criteria for like major depression, but just like depressive symptoms in general, I mean, the estimate's as high as 1 in 4. And I think that it's probably at a fairly high point right now with COVID and the quarantine and people losing their jobs and people losing loved ones to, you know, COVID. COVID's taken out, I think it's like 600,000. It's getting close to 600,000 people worldwide. I mean, we're getting close to 1% of the world. It died from COVID this year. So people are losing family members and lost their jobs, etc. And people are stuck inside, and there's no social outlets. You can't even see your therapist, your doctor one-on-one half the time in person anymore. So people who need help aren't getting help. So what I think is important, besides the fact that it's really common, is that it's deadly. So people kill themselves, you know, as we saw this morning. And if you look at this graphic, someone in the world kills themselves every 13 minutes. I mean, that's insane. That's like one of the saddest things I think I've ever heard. It's far more than people killing each other. So, Catalea, yeah, you've got depression too. Yep, you're not alone. That's another thing I want people to get out of this is, you know, there's a lot of people who have this issue and deal with this on a daily basis and deal with it on and off throughout their lives. And you're not alone. You know, we're here for each other. So yeah, if you see this graphic, it's pretty striking. You know, the number of people that die from suicide. It's horrifying, honestly. So you guys can take a look at some of these sites. I'm gonna share a document that has the links for all the stuff I'm looking at. But this first site is just just kind of generic overview of the like types of depression, you know, signs and symptoms. I think we most of us know a lot of these, you know, feeling sad, feeling hopeless, feeling irritable, feeling guilty, having low energy, low motivation, changes in appetite, or, you know, of course the really bad ones are, you know, thoughts of suicide, death, etc. So, you know, if you feel like you're struggling with things that are on this signs and symptoms list, reach out to somebody. It doesn't necessarily have to be a doctor. Like, reach out to someone close to you, someone you trust. Tell someone. I mean, you can even, you know, post on a forum somewhere, go to a community group, or go to your doctor, go to a therapist. Like, tell someone that will be able to help you. And what I really wanted to go over tonight is are ways to help with depression without taking medication. Because obviously we could go to the doctor and just take Prozac and try to treat with medication, because that's mostly what your doctor is going to do, honestly, is prescribe meds or have you go see a therapist. But I wanted to talk about things that you can easily do on a daily basis that are already healthy things to do, but also are natural antidepressants. Thoughts equal your worst enemy. Just do what you enjoy. It helps a lot. Says white t-shirt, no bra. That, you know what? That's exactly right. Exactly right. The word that's used for that in the medical research on depression treatment is called rumination. So they look at, so rumination is when you're stuck in your own thoughts, basically. And things that you enjoy help a lot with rumination. So things like, so video games, we're going to get to that. Video games are actually huge in that, believe it or not. So exercise, this article is really good. It's really well done. It basically treats exercise as if it's a drug. And you can see that this line here, there's the placebo, and here's your drug, right? So they go through all the drugs, and then they compare all these medicines, and then they also compare exercise to the effect. Like, does it have similar effect as an antidepressant? And the answer was yes. So there have been random controlled trials that look at exercise, and they look at like the dosage of exercise and our adherence to exercise. And the bottom line is that exercise appears to be an effective treatment for depression, improving depressive symptoms to a comparable extent as pharmacotherapy and psychotherapy. So if you compare it to antidepressant medication and going to a therapist, regular exercise is just as effective. So some people need therapy, they need medication and exercise. But if I was going to just start with one of those three, I would start with exercise. You can just walk out your front door and go start exercising. It appears that even modest levels of exercise are associated with improvements in depression. And while most studies to date have focused on aerobic exercise, several studies have also found that resistance training may also be effective. While the optimal dose of exercise is unknown, clearly any exercise is better than no exercise. So getting patients to initiate exercise and sustain it is critical. So even weightlifting, calisthenics, cardiovascular exercise, all of those things are essentially natural antidepressants. And there's a lot of theories as to why. I don't think it matters that much for this discussion, like why it works, but there's a lot of theories about like hormones and prostaglandins and et cetera, and chemicals, and why exercise might improve your depression. But in the end, when you compare it directly to the effects of medication, psychotherapy, exercise is just as effective. So that is the very first thing I would recommend to anyone who's struggling with depression, or if you've got a friend or a family member who's struggling with depression, be their workout buddy. Go for a walk together. Go do anything active together and start doing it on a regular basis, and you will see how much it helps. In fact, me personally, when I've had crashes in my depression, and even when I was on medication, and I'm like, man, why am I suddenly like feeling so down and depressed? I realized I stopped exercising. Like, I was already on 2 antidepressants a day and seeing a therapist, and my depression was under pretty good control. And then life got kind of busy and I got kind of lazy and I stopped exercising, and that was the only thing that really changed, and my depression started getting worse. And in fact, my doctor and my therapist were both smart, and they were like, well, are you still exercising? No. Whoops. And honestly, that was it. You should do, Dr. Jenner, you should do this more. Yeah, I think maybe I should. I'm kind of trying stuff out here, because I don't know how much people like being talked at as much as, participating in a conversation. But Catalea, I do these once a week on Thursday nights, around 9 p.m. So, I don't know if you're in the Discord, but I usually do announcements in advance too, as to when I'm going to do them. And I'm going to start picking more topics like this. So exercise. So here's another article, and I don't know if you guys saw the Google Docs that I posted. But I'll copy it one more time. These are articles I've picked out, and I made a list of them. So this is another study. These are meta-analyses. So what that means is they're looking at like the studies that are available to analyze, and then they basically do a study of the studies and try to get all the data that's out there and then come up with a conclusion and say, okay, hey, look, we looked at the 8 studies on exercise and depression that have been done in the last 10 years, and here's what we think. And so you can see here, like we were talking about some of the hypotheses, like endorphins and various like chemicals, neurotransmitters, distraction. So White T-shirt was talking about that. Rumination. We talked about rumination, where your own thoughts are your own worst enemy, right? You're left to your own devices. You're all by yourself. You're sitting there late at night. You had a pretty good day, and all of a sudden you're alone, and you got nothing to distract you, and your brain just starts going to all the bad stuff. And so exercise can help you, avoid those negative ruminations. But I do think there's also there's really biochemical stuff that's going on in your brain that helps with depression. So this is just another article. It goes on, the summary, and basically what they say is, the mechanisms. There's still a debate on how it actually works. However, the efficacy, so the effectiveness of exercise in decreasing symptoms of depression, has been well established. There's good data that it affects your mood positively, independent of this is super important, I think. So people stop exercising because they're not getting ripped like Shirtless David in DVD, okay? And they go, well, my body's not really changing that much. I'm not losing weight. I'm not gaining muscle. I'm not looking the way I want. What's the point? Well, what they found is that independent of fitness gains, you get positive benefit on your mental health when you exercise. So I try to tell patients, like, just focus on exercise as a checkbox. I got my 30 minutes in today, and regardless of what the scale says, how much weight you're lifting, how fast you're running your mile, like, forget about that. Just get it in as a checkbox, because the benefits to your heart health and your mental health are always going to be there no matter what. So independent of fitness gains. So that means the focus should be on the frequency of your exercise rather than its intensity until the behavior is well established. So basically they're saying, just get out there and exercise. Don't worry about how good you are at it. Just do it. So physician advice is likely to go a long way toward providing motivation and support for exercise, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm saying, go do it, everybody. And we have a fitness goals channel in the Discord. So if people have specific things they're wanting to do for exercise, we post and talk about stuff in there. I think it's a really healthy thing to do, especially if you need some support. Finally, it's interesting to note that while depression may be an additional risk factor for exercise non-compliance, reported dropout rates among depressed patients are not different from those in the general population. So if you start exercising and stick to it, even if you're depressed, you're gonna keep doing it, basically, is what the article has concluded, and you'll get benefits from it. So exercise is the very first thing I would do. Second thing is mindfulness and meditation. So I am kind of a cynic. I'm a little bit of a I guess a contrarian. Like I'm old school. I want evidence. I'm kind of that curmudgeonly Western doctor that you've got to prove to me that something works with data before I'll believe it. And I used to think meditation with mindfulness were just kind of, whatever, hippy dippy, right? And because I'm stubborn, I'm just being honest with y'all. And it works. It's fantastic, and it doesn't take long. It helps with all kinds of stuff. It helps with depression, anxiety, anger issues. If you guys aren't familiar with mindfulness, basically, let me see if there's here we go. Mindfulness techniques. So mindfulness is very simple. Like, you don't need anything special. You don't need special music or special like studio or go pay for, a mindfulness session somewhere. Like, you can literally just do it sitting in a chair anywhere. I used to do it in my office at work when I was having a really tough day. You can just sit in your chair, and basically what you're doing is you're focusing on everything you can that has nothing to do with your external environment. So anything about your own like body, what you feel in the chair, listening to yourself breathe, feeling your heartbeat. If you feel things, like acknowledging those feelings but not perseverating or ruminating on them. So there's body sensations, sensory, emotional, and it does help if you have music. It does help if you have somebody maybe walking you through it, and like sit in your chair and listen to yourself breathe. Feel every breath. Take a deep breath and feel your own breath. Feel the chair underneath you, that kind of stuff. And if you do that for 10 minutes, especially if you have trouble sleeping, a lot of people with depression, anxiety have trouble sleeping, and then the rumination happens when you're going to bed because you're by yourself and you're in your own thoughts. Then that's a great time to do your meditation, your mindfulness, just 10 minutes before bed. I mean, what do most people do for 10 minutes before bed? They're on Twitch, getting screen time and waking their brains up. As much as I want more viewers watching me before bed, take those 10 minutes and go meditate. Go do some mindfulness and go to sleep. Especially if you exercised like you were supposed to in the first half of the day, and then you add in 10 minutes of mindfulness at the end of the day, you're going to sleep like a baby. And doing that every single day and being disciplined is not easy. I know it's easy to sit here and say to do these things, but yeah, they're watching Twitch or they're watching Netflix or they're playing DBD and like getting, pissed off because somebody teabagged them at a pallet. That's not going to help you sleep. So, thank you for the hydrate, sir. So, R. Jorman did the graphics for the channel and the emotes too. I'm glad you're hanging out, man. So, there's all kinds of stuff we do at bedtime. You could take 10 minutes and just do some mindfulness, right? So this is another study. I like PubMed. I like actually looking at primary literature because instead of, someone just saying, hey, it works for me, or I read this book that says it works. This is legitimate research. So that's why I gave you guys those links. I know it's really dense, but the reason I'm showing you these things is I feel like it makes the information more powerful when you see how much research has been done behind it. And so all 4 emotional regulation mechanisms mediated the relationship between mindfulness and depression. Mindfulness decreased depression and anxiety by increasing reappraisal. So that means like it reduces you look at things in a different way, in a more positive way, reduces worry, reduces rumination, and negatively thinking about things that have occurred or worrying about things that are going to occur. All these are really, really good things. So you combine this with exercise, you've now got like multiple weapons at your disposal for fighting some of the problems that people deal with depression. And honestly, it will take 40 minutes total of your day. You only need 30 minutes exercise, 10 minutes of mindfulness. I know we can all take a break from one DBD game and do those things. So those are my 2 big suggestions that I always make to patients is exercise, mindfulness. However, we're on Twitch, right? So we want to talk about games. So let's talk about video games. So if you look at old data and old conclusions, you'll see, and this is true, there people who play games more than a certain amount every week have a high association with depression. And so a simple conclusion without looking any further would be, oh, well, playing too much video games causes depression. But what we've found is the opposite is probably what's happening here. So the reason that a lot of people who play a lot of video games also have depression, so chicken and egg here, is they were depressed before they played video games, and they were looking for a way to help treat their depression without using medication or self-medicating with something that's unhealthy, right? Like there's other ways of self-medicating that's unhealthy, like drinking alcohol, doing drugs, etc. So what I thought was really, really fascinating was they did a study with functional MRIs. So for those of you who aren't familiar with functional MRIs, they basically are taking a live MRI of your brain. So you can see the brain activity live on an MRI. And then they have them do activities. So what they found was the activity the brain activity when someone's playing games are very stimulated in areas that are underactive when you're depressed. So the reward pathways and your learning and memory pathways are usually very underactive when you're clinically depressed. And those areas of the brain sometimes are not only underactive, but the tissue is smaller. The tissue volume is actually smaller in those areas. And those are the two exact areas of the brain that are extra active when you're playing games. So just based off of brain activity alone, video games are literally the exact opposite effect of depression on your brain. They're a natural antidepressant. You have things that you have goals for. You have things that you're trying to get better at, things that you're trying to achieve. And then there's things you have to learn. You have to remember things. You get rewards. And especially with modern games, I mean, they've really built in systems to kind of hook you in with, rewards and carrots. And you've got the Blood Web and DVD, and you've got battle passes and like every game there is now. And people love that stuff, and it feels good in your brain. So the problem with that, though, and I think this is a really important point to make, especially to this crowd, is you can overdo it. It can become an addiction. So those reward pathways are also activated in drug addiction. So or any addiction. So there is a balance. So that's why I mentioned exercise and meditation first. Because if we're trying to help depression, we don't want to just be sitting in our basement playing video games 24/7. We actually are now becoming addicted, and we're ignoring other parts of our life that are important, right? So I'm glad you're back, Candy. And so you don't want to ignore, physical exercise. You don't want to ignore social activity outside of this virtual world. You don't want to ignore your life. So there is a balance to it. But I did think that was really quite a fascinating medical study done. So, there's more. If you're talking about this with your family members who are like, why do you play video games so much? And instead of trying to convince them and say, well, it gives me a goal, or I meet people, and it makes me feel like I'm good at something, and they don't get it, you can say, there were fMRI studies done at Stanford that show that it has antidepressant activities on your brain. See the look on their face at the dinner table from that response. So this Slate article on how video games Teach Your Brain to Fight Depression, I think is a really, really good article. If there's only one article you end up reading out of these, it would be that. And then they do cite the fMRI study from Stanford. So here's what an fMRI looks like. It's pretty cool. So you can see the areas of the brain that are active during playing games, and then when you're not doing anything. Pretty cool stuff. So very legitimate scientific evidence that there's something going on there. So exercise, mindfulness, and a healthy dose of video games, not an unhealthy dose. And so, like, for example, someone who streams and plays video games all day, they should be getting up in the morning and exercising, and then taking care of themselves, take care of the stuff they need to do in their life, run their errands, whatever, then get on stream. And then after stream, you need to disconnect a little bit. So like sometimes when people message me on Discord or they want to play, they see me playing off stream, and I say, no thanks, I'm going to just hang out on my own. That has nothing to do with anything personal or me being antisocial. It's me taking my own time for myself too, outside of the stream. And, then doing some relaxing things that have nothing to do with video games or streaming, and then going to sleep. And that's a healthy, balanced life. So that's why doing things like streaming 16 hours a day and grind, like that's what some people say to do. That's not actually a healthy thing to do at all. And yeah, it may help your stream in the short term because you'll get a lot of exposure, but you'll become unhealthy, and then in the long term that will harm you and your stream. So balance. So exercise, mindfulness, video games, and or / insert hobby here that gives you goals and gives you social things to do in a healthy balance. And honestly, if you do all the 3 of those things and you take good care of your sleep, I know insomnia is a really big challenge for a lot of people, especially people with depression, anxiety. You may not need medication. Some people do. Some people have depression bad enough. And like I needed multiple antidepressants at one point in my life, but I don't anymore. I actually weaned myself off of antidepressants a couple of months ago, like less than 2 months ago. And the last thing that kind of put me over the top was streaming. It was streaming. It was having this social connection and playing games with people. And I've been exercising, losing weight, incorporating mindfulness into my day. And I don't need antidepressants anymore. And I'm, not everyone's the same. I'm not saying just because my story worked out that way that everybody's should, but you are talking to somebody who had severe major depressive disorder diagnosed and was on multiple antidepressants. So it can work. So yeah, I think, and also I was going to talk about music a little bit too. There's not as much data for music, but a couple other things just to flesh out the list: music and animals, pets. So like you can go to your doctor and get companion animal litter for depression, which can sometimes help you with like keeping a dog in your apartment and that kind of stuff. But yeah, so those are kind of the major things that I would recommend for helping with depression that are not medication. And if you have any comments or questions about the articles I posted or anything I said, now's a good time to ask, or you can DM me later in Discord. And then as far as the rest of the podcast goes, just kind of open it up to questions or anyone who wants to share. Or your dog is your companion? That's awesome. Yeah. Dogs are super therapeutic. They're really, really therapeutic. I mean, they use animals for therapy in various situations. In fact, when I worked in the Veterans Hospital down in Los Angeles, they used to bring by a dog. I think a lot of hospitals do this. They used to bring by a dog and just take them to the patient's rooms, and like the dog would just go sit with them, and it really helped. It really helped their morale when they were sick in the hospital. Candy says, so working out would be a hobby with goals? Absolutely. I mean, that's That's a really good point, actually. So, what we talked about with video games and like having a goal, having those reward pathways. Yeah. I mean, working out, you can also have the same thing. So, you can just go and take a walk and, get outside, go do some exercise, go lift some weights and just do your thing and just get your exercise in. But if you want to be a little bit more focused about it, and you have set goals and you've got a workout buddy and etc., and you have achievements when you want to do, then yeah, I mean those effects on your brain would also be additive with your exercise for sure. The reason I was focused more on just kind of casual exercise is just the average person oftentimes gets intimidated by exercise because they're having trouble achieving any kind of measurable physical improvement or visual improvement in their body shape or whatever, and then they quit and because it's discouraging. But Candy, I know that you are very focused on your exercise and have goals, and that's excellent. That is excellent, because think about it: you get a personal record on something one day, and you worked really hard to get there. That causes a lot of positive activity in your brain. And the work to get there does too, if you're seeing improvement. So yeah, I definitely encourage people to do focused, goal-oriented workouts, but to caution them that set goals that are achievable. Don't set goals that are so out there that they make you feel like a failure, because then you're actually having the opposite effect. But that's a great point. I love my dogs; they're so cute. Yeah, they are so cute. And you know what? I think they know. I think they know when you're depressed. They know when you're down. They know when you need them. They come sit by your side and take care of you. There's definitely something to, animals. People say dog is man's best friend, but I say animals in general, because sometimes that's cats for people or, different animals. But yeah, dogs are probably the most common. But they really are kind of man's best friend, right? They're loyal, and they know when you need them. Motivation is your downfall. Yeah, well then, for somebody who has trouble with motivation like that, and is easily discouraged, like I wouldn't set like hardcore, goals for your activity. I would focus more on just making it a checkbox in your day. Did I get out and do 30 minutes exercise? Did I get outside and walk? Did I go into my gym in the garage and lift some weights? Did I get on the exercise bike for 30 minutes? Just is a checkbox. Same with the mindfulness. Did I sit down and just zen out for 10 minutes and do some mindfulness? Checkbox. So, yeah, what's up, Canada? Oh, what are my thoughts on the Dr. Disrespect ban? I don't know. I don't know what to think about that, to be honest with you. They're not saying anything, which means to me that it's lawyers. There's lawyers involved on both sides, and they're both basically saying, hey, don't say anything until we have this settled. Some sort of legal issue between him and Twitch is my guess. Candy says, for me, I can see results for working out when I can see all my veins or when they pop. That is a nice feeling, right? When you start seeing physical results from all your hard work. So, the other thing that I think is really important is, someone took their own life today. And so, it's good to have all these things you can do to help take care of depression. And, but the other really important thing, I think, is if you are starting to spiral or you're seeing someone else spiral, you got to reach out. You got to reach out. You got to reach out if you're in trouble. And you got to reach out if you see someone who's in trouble. Because sometimes just having human connection is just the bare minimum thing that might change someone's mind about taking their own life. I mean, the reason that we always want to try to intervene is, because I've heard the other side of the story where people say, well, maybe they really were miserable and it's not our job to say what they did was wrong or that we should have stopped them. And I've seen people who are that low and it's temporary, and then they were about to kill themselves, and then Someone talks them out of it, or something snaps them out of it, and then they go, man, I'm so glad I didn't do that. Also, I get to relieve anger or stress by working out. Yep, it's true. You get out a lot of energy that way. That's a very healthy way. That's called sublimation, Candy. Sublimation is just a fancy psychiatric word for taking negative energy and using it for something positive in some other way. So like, man, I'm angry, I'm amped up, I'm stressed. I'm gonna go get all this physical angst that I have right now, and I'm gonna let it all out on a punching bag. I'm gonna let it all out on the bench press. That's an excellent, healthy thing to do. Sublimation. I'm sorry, who's this person that passed? So his online name was Reckful. His name was Byron Bernstein. And I used to watch him a lot when I played World of Warcraft back in the day. He was one of the best in the whole world at PvP, World of Warcraft arena. And his main class was Rogue, and that was what I played. And so I watched him all the time. Very entertaining, extremely skilled, and passionate, intense person. And this was back, when streaming was just kind of young and growing. And he publicly struggled with mental health issues for years. So when I woke up this morning and I saw these people saying like R.I.P. Reckful and stuff, I'm like, what the heck? What do they mean? I didn't think they meant he actually had died. It really kind of hit me harder than I thought it would when I realized what was going on. It is really sad. It's very sad. He tweeted out this morning, he said, I'm sorry to everybody who had to deal with my insanity. And then he ended his life. So I thought tonight would be a good time to talk about depression, even though I didn't really prepare much for tonight. This was a last minute kind of topic switch. So everybody's going to go out and start exercising tomorrow and doing mindfulness techniques before bed, and healthy doses of video game, talking about their problems with people they trust. You're not burdening your friends and your family if you're having a bad day. That's what they're there for. And if you feel like it's that much of a burden to talk to your friends and family, that's where a therapist can really help, if you're able to afford that or have insurance, etc. Do I think you could squat 35 pounds, 8 reps? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar enough with your fitness level and strength and stuff. What I will say about doing squats, just make sure you have good technique. Protect your back. Have someone spot you if you don't know how to do them, because you can hurt yourself. But 35 pounds isn't really that heavy. But I don't want to say that and then it is heavy for you and you go hurt yourself. And give you a false sense of security and then you go get injured. Okay, good luck with that. Any of this kind of drum up any thoughts for anyone, or bring up questions, or anybody else have any suggestions that they do to help with mood and depression besides what we talked about? I know this is not the most positive topic. There may not be a lot of people that are interested in talking about this tonight because it's a hard topic, but music does help. Yeah, I actually pulled up an article on that. Music, the reason I didn't talk about music as much is because the evidence for music being effective is fairly short term. So once you stop listening to the music, it doesn't have as much of an effect anymore. Whereas if you do exercise every day, like especially in the first half of your day as a regular thing, it has a very proven long-term effect. So like the effects that you have from exercise last a lot longer than music does. So like music's really helpful while you're listening to it. Once you stop listening, it's not helping you that much. But it's a good thing. Like, man, I'm in a bad mood. I need some help right now. Pop some nice music on. That's a really good idea. Just know that when you turn it off, those feelings may return. So it may be a good idea to go for a walk, go play some games, do something distracting, do some meditation. It's not really possible, but I get blackout drunk and just forget all my problems. Yeah, Noob, I'm glad you mentioned that. So I'm a recovering alcoholic. I will be sober 2 years in August. And I used to do the same thing. It is extremely unhealthy. And I realized that I became an alcoholic because of stress. I was self-medicating. And, in the moment, it feels nice because alcohol kind of relaxes you, brings you down, sedates you. A lot of those feelings that are negative and feel bad to like experience suddenly don't feel as bad. But getting blacked out is so hard on your body. And of course it's dangerous because when you black out, you can end up doing things that are dangerous to yourself, dangerous to others. You don't even know what you're doing. You're not really in control anymore. Not to mention that if you're drinking to that level, eventually, alcohol is going to harm your body. Yeah, actually, Crash and Smash, I'm guessing you're kind of being like a little cheeky but serious at the same time. Sex, it actually does have natural antidepressant properties. The endorphin release, the feeling of human connection and physical touch and all that is all actually very therapeutic. It is quite therapeutic. Yeah, Canada. That's why I didn't like make it part of my main list. But I mean, if somebody mentions it, it's true though. It is true. I mean, we're not going to get into graphic deep details about sex. Sex is a part of human function and is a physiologic function, and it has physiologic effects on our body. And yeah, I mean, sexual activity is beneficial to your brain. It helps your mood. It helps you sleep. So I'm not encouraging people to just go out and have sex, but if you have a safe relationship and you you want to help each other with mood and stuff, like there are lots of articles written about that. Be romantic with each other. Yeah, exactly, Crash. I tell patients that all the time. I see couples together too. They'll come in together and both do their physicals and they'll talk about that stuff, and I'll say, you guys need to be romantic. You guys go on some dates, enjoy each other. Happy wife, happy life. Yeah, there is a lot to that, Canada. So yeah, Crash, that is a good point. You've been with your wife for 20 years. Congrats, man. You're a lucky man. I am currently in the middle of a divorce, so I did not want to get divorced. My wife did. It is what it is. Part of that's from being an alcoholic, like I said. A lot of it is. So even though I've been sober for a couple of years, I mean, I was an alcoholic for 10 years before that. It does a lot of damage to your life. So I'm really happy for you, man. 20 years. That's awesome. Hey, any tips when talking to girls? Because I'm not the best at it. Sure, man. Be yourself. Just be yourself. Be confident in who you are. Just be you. You know, women, men, it doesn't matter. You know, any kind of romantic relationship, when you're trying to start rapport with a new person, just be yourself. And if they don't like who you are, then it wasn't a good match. People are attracted to other people who are comfortable in their own skin. So, yes, it helps to look like shirtless David. You know, it helps if you have like a really interesting skill set or, you know, whatever. But just be yourself and just be natural. It doesn't have to be a game. Just go say hi. Hi. This is me. How are you? Just wanted to come over and say hi because I wanted to meet you. What are you up to? I mean, that honestly, that kind of interaction to start works because you're just being comfortable and saying hi, and you're not making a big deal about it. If you're acting really scared and nervous and unsure of yourself, that makes them unsure of you. So and if they don't like you, then don't take it personally. That wasn't a good match for you. You're Canada Man 3000. Because I'm gay AF. You will never get a wife. Yeah, you're funny. Well, I mean, maybe you'll have a husband. Crash. I take sleep meds for my high stress and insomnia, and I was told to supplement meds for sex. Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like, some people need medication. You know, some people really do need it. And it helps them, and they don't function very well without it. So if your doctor thinks you need medication and lifestyle stuff, then, you know, they have your best interests in mind. Am I ready? Am I ready for what? Canada asking me if I'm ready. What do you ask me if I'm ready for? Candy says the problem is starting the conversation. Yeah, you don't need to have anything crazy. You don't need like some crazy pickup line. Pickup lines are fun, you know, they're goofy and cheeky and flirty, but you know, let's say there's a girl you like, you haven't met her before, just walk over and say hello. Say hi, I'm Candyman. You know, whatever your real name is. Hey, I noticed you across the room. I just wanted to come say hi. Introduce myself. Here's who I am. How are you? Tell me about you. Tell me about yourself. It doesn't have to be that complicated. It really doesn't. Yeah, go for it. What's the worst thing that could happen, Candy? They say, "Oh, sorry, I'm not really interested in you." Okay, bye. There's a million other people you could try talking to. Somebody nice will be interested. Life of Poo Poo. Morning. Life of Poo Poo. What a name. Good morning, Doc. Is it morning for you? Where are you at, Life of Poo Poo? I'm just going to call you Life. Life of. I don't want to keep calling you Poo Poo. Where are you? If it's morning. Oh, push-ups. Okay, I'm going to do the push-ups after the discussion, but I promise. I owe you them. Oh, is that from Angry Pug? Is that Angry Pug's Poo Poo? You just don't know what to talk about? I mean, talk about whatever you're interested in. But what in my personal experience as a straight male approaching women, what women really want to see is that you're interested in them. So you be nice, confident, be yourself, introduce yourself, and then ask them questions about them because you're interested in them. Call me Evan. All right, cool. Well, thanks, Evan. Crash says just be honest and compliment them if you're interested in them. Find something nice about them. Yeah, exactly. Tell them why you like them. Hey, I noticed you, we're doing this thing over here. I like doing the same thing. Hey, I like your shirt. That's funny what it says on your shirt. Whatever. Oh, I noticed in class you said this. I thought that was a good joke or whatever. You can just anything. If you like them, there's got to be a reason. Even if it's just something physical. Even if you just think they have nice eyes or nice hair, like just say it. You can do it. Yeah, exactly. See? There's 3 people right there saying a compliment is a nice way to start. People like getting compliments. It feels nice when someone appreciates something about you. Now, hopefully, she also appreciates something about you. And if she doesn't, then her loss. You weren't meant to be. You're in Cyprus. Oh, wow. Cool. So it really is morning for you. How far ahead are you? So is that what, like, was that like 9-10 hours ahead of Pacific time? Beer bag. Gotta run to the gas station. All right. Oh, and you're a girl. See, there you go. You have some female advice. She's saying just give a compliment. Like, okay, so Candy, if a woman came up to you and said, "Hey, I really like your tie. Let's say you're wearing a nice tie. Or I really like your shirt. Or I think you look handsome today." Are you gonna react negatively to that if she was nice about it and not like in being weird or aggressive? She just came and said, "Hey, this is my name. I just noticed you across the room. I just wanted to let you know I think you look handsome today." That would make you feel really good, right? And, I think this does connect to depression because, being in love is like an awesome antidepressant. When you connect with someone like that. It's 8 a.m. where you are. Okay, yeah, so you're 10 hours ahead. Okay. Well, good morning. I think that's a pretty good list we've got so far for how to help with depressive symptoms. Exercise, mindfulness meditation, music, animal therapy, being in love / being romantic, having sex, and video games in healthy doses. And or any hobby where you've got a set goal and something that really hooks you in. And the other thing I think is great about video games, especially modern online games, is that we have a huge built-in social network. I mean, one of my best friends I met playing a video game 9 years ago. We met playing Star Wars, the Old Republic, the Star Wars MMO, and we've been friends ever since. We text each other every day, and I know about his family, he knows about my family, etc. So video games are also a great place to make friends. Any other thoughts, burning desires, questions? We can actually open it up to any medical curiosities at this point. We talked about depression for about an hour. We can talk about anything now. If you want to keep talking about depression, we can keep doing that. My thoughts on steroid use. I'm assuming you're referring to anabolic steroids for building muscle and athletic performance. It's dangerous. It's extremely dangerous. So I actually have experience as a medical doctor prescribing testosterone for men who have true testosterone deficiency. And it has a lot of risks associated with it. So forget about the fact that, it's a banned substance because they're trying to keep the playing field, legit and natural. It's dangerous. So it can destroy your liver. It gives you increased risk for heart disease, increased risk for various cancers, prostate cancer. It makes your cholesterol go out of whack. It is no good. It is really no good. So even when I prescribe it for people who have true deficiencies, I have to monitor all kinds of labs. I have to monitor blood counts. It can make your blood counts go way up and make your blood thick, and people can have blood clots. I have to monitor for prostate cancer every year with a PSA, cholesterol panel, and then people have to know that it increases your risk of heart disease quite a bit. It's why men have a higher risk of heart disease than women do, as testosterone level. So I would not recommend testosterone therapy for anything unless you have true, like proven clinical deficiency, diagnosed by a medical doctor. So like doing steroids from the buff dude at the gym who gives you some street supply, not smart at all. What's the best way to get rid of a heat rash? Time, air. Give it some air. You can put anti-inflammatories and like steroids and stuff on there, but you can take antihistamines. But it really just takes time. Anti-inflammatories are your best bet, but like cool it down, and then you can use stuff to like help with irritation. But there's not much other than that. You can take like Benadryl or Claritin or whatever, as long as it's okay with your current medical situation to take those. Topical anti-inflammatory creams, aloe, stuff like that, but mostly it just takes time. Oh, you have testosterone deficiency, Crash. You got diagnosed. Interesting. All right, so are you taking testosterone supplementation from your doctor then? Here's what Mayo Clinic says for treating heat rash. Wear lightweight clothing that keeps moisture away from your skin. Spend as much time as possible in air-conditioned buildings. Use cool water, calamine lotion. Don't use anything that blocks your pores. You can take antihistamines. Yeah, pretty much what I said. There's not a whole lot you can do. And then anti-inflammatory like topicals like hydrocortisone cream. Yeah, I don't want a pulmonary embolism or cardiac arrest from a blood clot. Yeah, exactly, Candy. Absolutely not. Yeah, it's not worth it. I've had patients who are legitimately taking testosterone supplementation because of deficiency that was diagnosed with 2 8 a.m. testosterone tests on different days, and they had true low testosterone, and I had to stop their therapy because their blood counts were going up too high and it was risk of clots. They just had to live with the low T, unfortunately. It's dangerous. What's a good way to prevent it? I work in environments indoors, 99 to 100 degrees. Oh, you're talking about heat rash, Nubosaurus? Yeah, so wear lightweight clothing that helps wick away moisture from your skin. So if you have like dry fit type clothes, and air conditioning wherever you can get by, air conditioning will help keep your skin dry and cool. But it's hard if you're in a hot, humid environment like that. It is tough. keep a towel with you. Try to keep the moisture away from your skin. It's kind of, you can almost think of it like a sweat rash. Like the sweat just sitting there on your skin does not help. Crashes, you're not taking testosterone. Okay. Candy says, isn't there a thing called a saddle pulmonary embolism or something like that? Yes, there is, Candy. So a saddle embolism refers to basically when a clot is so large in your pulmonary in your pulmonary vessels that it blocks both lungs from getting blood flow. It's basically instant death. So it's a massive clot, goes to your lungs. It's so large, it blocks both sides of the pulmonary blood flow, and you cannot get any blood to your lungs. Therefore, you can't get any oxygen to your blood, and you die very quickly. It's one of the things we look for on an autopsy if somebody has a sudden death that's unexplained, is a pulmonary embolus like that. I actually saw one on an autopsy when I was a medical student. They recommend more sex. Yeah, I mean, there are natural ways to raise your testosterone. It's probably because you're young. They're concerned about giving you supplementation at your age because of all the risks that I just talked about. Heart disease risk, prostate cancer risk, blood count monitoring, all that stuff. When you're that young, if you start a supplement like that, like how long are you going to be on it? And so if they can find any other way. So exercise actually helps, especially exercise that increases muscle mass. Having more regular sex can help raise it. If you're overweight, especially if you're obese, if your body mass index is below 30 or above 30, losing weight can actually help. If you've been on pain meds or for any reason, those can bring down your testosterone. Those are a few of the major things I usually talk about with people: weight loss, exercise, weight bearing exercise, trying to build some muscle mass, trying to have a more regular sex life if you have one, can all raise your testosterone. There are other things that lower your testosterone you can't control. So, like having children. If you have a child that lives in your home, your testosterone goes down by like 20%. Pretty interesting. It's funny you're mentioning this because solution combinations for sex, which can sometimes be difficult for people who have low testosterone because your sex drive is low. That's one of the effects of low T, is low sex drive. Yeah, I mean, there are some studies that, regular masturbation, like a few times a week, can have a supportive benefit, but it's not major. But yeah, it has some similar and smaller effects that actual sexual intercourse has, but it's more minor. Is a 17 BMI good? Well, I'm an adult doctor. I only treat adults. I do internal medicine. So for a child, I don't know pediatric growth curves and BMIs, but I do know adults. And for an adult, 17 is low. It's unhealthily low. The bare minimum BMI for being healthy is above 18 and a half. But I know you're in your teen years, so I don't really know the answer to that, to be honest, for your age. You'd have to look that up on Google, like on a pediatric growth curve, or ask your doc. Life Boo Boo explains your name, Crash and Smash. You guys. Boys will be boys. Just be respectful. That's all I ask. I know we're talking about sex, and that sex is normal, part of your life, part of everyone's life, some way or another. Even if you're asexual, it's still a part of your life somehow, at least in how you identify with it. But just be respectful. This is good stuff. Good conversation. So does anyone here do anything like mindfulness or meditation, or has anyone ever tried it before? Everyone's life is except for mine for these couple of years. Hey, I haven't had any in quite a long time. With you there. And I'm okay with it. The last person I was with was my wife, and we're going through a divorce, and I haven't been with anybody. Don't plan on it. Don't see a need. You know, you don't, just because you're not getting any doesn't mean anything bad about you. But if you have that in your life, it can be helpful for depression, for sure. Tried it, but I sat on the ground for 3 hours. Kept thinking about. Oh, you tried meditation. It's hard. Sometimes you outthink the meditation. That can be a real challenge for people who don't do it very often or haven't done it much in the past. If that's the case, I recommend finding like a YouTube video or clip or something where someone walks you through it with music, and exactly, use an app for guidance. Have someone kind of guide you through it, so you're sitting there and then someone's kind of telling you what to do so that your brain doesn't have to be as active. You got the music going and then someone can be directing you. Take a deep breath. Feel yourself breathing. Feel the chair sitting underneath you. You don't even have to have your eyes closed. You can have your eyes open, but sometimes people close their eyes. Sometimes people keep their eyes open. Focus on the object right in front of you. What color is it? Or think of your favorite color. What feelings are you feeling right now? Are you feeling happy? Are you feeling anger? Are you feeling anxious? Acknowledge those feelings and then think about something else. Like somebody who can be walking you through and instructing you through all this stuff. And you'll be amazed after a while, you won't be thinking about anything. You'll just be being. You'll just be there. You'll just be existing while you feel yourself breathe. Feel yourself sitting in this chair. Just feel yourself being alive and not thinking about or worrying about anything else. It's a really cool feeling. Focusing on counting breaths is helpful. Yep. So you can kind of focus on the actual meditation act itself instead of outside things and rumination. Agreed. I think too much and I stay up for 5 hours. Yeah. Yep. Rumination. Thinking about all kinds of stuff in your brain you can't control. You're by yourself. So sometimes sleep experts will recommend getting out of bed at that point. Like get out of bed after like a half hour if you can't sleep. And go sit down on the couch or a chair or go read a book for 10 minutes and come back. Try again. And the other thing with sleep, because sleep is highly, related to all this stuff, is do your absolute best to get up at the exact same time every day, no matter how tired you are, no matter how crappy your sleep was the night before. If it's alarm clock time, get your butt out of bed. And if you only got 3 hours of sleep that night, too bad. And then you're going to be tired that night and hopefully fall asleep instead of being wired. And then if you stick to that, going to bed at the same time, getting up at the same time every day, have exercise in the first half of your day, meditate before bed, do something that makes you feel good through the day. And you really, really stick to your regimen, you will be shocked after a few weeks how good you feel. And if you're really, really trying hard on all those things and you still can't do them, then maybe you do need to see a doctor or a therapist, etc. I tried it. I started thinking about it. Yeah. It always takes me about 45 minutes to fall asleep unless I'm extremely tired. That's not uncommon. That's not uncommon at all. Waking up isn't the problem. It's the falling asleep part. Yeah. Yeah. Your sleep latency, so sleep latency is the amount of time it takes you to fall asleep, will go down if you do exercise in the first half of your day and if you meditate. It will help you fall asleep. Thing is, your brain is made for things, so it's normal to have thoughts come and go. Someone told me that once and just told me to acknowledge the thoughts coming in and let them go. Yep. Very good point, Life of Poo Poo. That is part of mindfulness. You acknowledge the feelings that you're having. You acknowledge the thoughts that are there. And then you let them go and you go back to thinking about breathing and your body and just existing. So it's okay to acknowledge them. Like I used to have anger problems. I was just angry at the world a lot. I overreacted to things. I got upset too easily. And one thing my therapist told me has really helped a lot is it's okay to, experiencing anger is a normal thing. Experiencing anxiety is a normal thing. Experiencing frustration or worry is a normal thing. It's how you respond to it that really is the important thing. So if you're angry and your response is to go smash your fist through the wall, that's not good. If your response is to acknowledge the fact that you're angry and then think about the feelings that caused you to feel angry. I was upset about being lied to. I was betrayed. I felt disappointed. And then you acknowledge those feelings and let them go. That is way better than stuffing them, never thinking about them, because we do have feelings that occur and we have to address them somehow. But one of the best things that I ever heard in my life was when I went to AA meetings. It's called the Serenity Prayer. May I grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. So the things you cannot change, those are gone. Nothing I can do about those things. That guy's going to be a jerk no matter what. I can't fix them from being a jerk. They're going to be a jerk. I can only focus on what I can, which is how do I react to it? Or can I just get rid of that person? Like in a video game, for example, instead of arguing with them, letting them get you all pissed off, just block them. They're going to be a dick no matter what. So serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and then the wisdom to know the difference between the two. And that's not just an alcoholic thing. You can literally translate that to anything in your life. And since we all like to play video games, I go back to that as a common ground. You get frustrated with somebody you're playing in a video game with. You can't control their behavior, but you can control how you respond to them. You can control how much fun you're having. And if they're that toxic, you can also remove them from your experience. Block them. Don't talk to them, etc. And know when to pick your battles. Because a lot of things we get depressed about are things we can't control. And that lack of control can really mess with us. So you just have to accept when you don't have control. And then take it a step further and focus on what can I control. Like right now I'm going through this divorce. It's really painful. There's not much I can do about a lot of it. But what I can do is I can get up every day and exercise and take care of myself and go on stream and interact with, nice people on the internet and share my medical knowledge and do all these positive things. And whatever's happening, in the negative parts of my life that I can't control, they're going to happen. And I'll do what I can. And whatever you can't do, you have to let go. Or you'll just spiral. Air smells like something. Sometimes I have stinky cats. I only smell stuff if I go right next to it. Sometimes they come sit by my head and breathe. Yeah, good point, doctor. I'm in with the positive, out with the negative. Absolutely. And you know what? Sometimes we don't have a lot of positive to focus on. Sometimes there really is a lot of negative going on and we don't have a lot of positive. So you gotta hold on to that positive. And then the other thing is you can do your best to make more positive. and the negative stuff's gonna happen. Yes, supportive Candy, absolutely, absolutely. You come on Twitch to be distracted, to be entertained, to interact with another person, other people in the chat, the streamer themselves. But I also, it's a therapy for me. I get to interact with all of you. So doing this is part of my positive activity for the day as well. So yeah, absolutely. Streamers who don't acknowledge that we get as much out of this as you do are not being honest, in my opinion. Either that or they're doing it for the wrong reasons. Any other thoughts, questions, burning desires? Thank you to all of you who have interacted with the topic tonight. I know this wasn't the most fun, positive topic. I'm guessing there's a lot of people that would that are followers of the channel who are probably like, I don't want to talk about that all night. I want to go play games. Which I don't blame them. I did. I played DBD a bunch today. The cakes are all working now, so I racked up almost 2 million blood points, which was freaking awesome. Because I only bought the game a couple months ago, so I still have tons of stuff to level up and like teachable perks to get, and I've used a lot of my blood points farming up Moris for Toxic Tuesdays, and so I haven't been able to do a lot of the stuff I want to in that game. So yeah, they're all stacking now. There were a couple games where there were four stack of cakes, and got like 200,000 blood points almost from one game. Candy says, I got sunscreen in my eyes and they were irritated and teary for 4 hours. Yeah, that's probably the chemicals in the sunscreen. It's not designed to go in your eyes. So yeah, if you're a DBD player and you've got lots of cakes, they work now. You can stack them with your friends. They'll stack with the random people in your lobbies. That was a good antidepressant today. The DBD cake parties. All right. Well, we have kind of a little natural lull in here, so I'm just going to take 30 seconds of pure silence in honor of Rekful's life today. So we'll just start a quick little 30-second timer. I'll let you know when it's done. I'm just going to be quiet for 30 seconds. All right, thanks, guys. I put sunscreen around my eyes and I started playing football with boys and started sweating and got in my eyes. Yeah, that happens. That happens. Can your eyes sunburn? Absolutely. Absolutely. You need your eyelids and all the fluid that's covering your eyes, or they'll dry out real fast and the tissue will get destroyed. Just destroyed. So like people who have issues where they can't close their eye all the way, that's actually dangerous. That's dangerous to your eyes. You have to patch it, put ointment over it. Yeah, that's why we blink. Your eyes will just get dried out from the sun, desiccate. Yes, you'll go blind. Yep. No question about that. Your eye tissue is very sensitive. You're going to shave your legs, Candy. Okay. Have fun. Have you heard of superior canal dehiscence syndrome? I have not. Superior canal. Abnormal opening between the uppermost semicircular canal and the upper part of the ear and the brain. Oh, wow. My goodness. That doesn't look good. Here, let's put that into the... What made you think of that? Just, do you know somebody that has that, or did you experience that? You have that? So there's a opening in the bone that covers the semicircular canals. Oh, wow. That is interesting, Nubosaurus. Thank you for sharing that with us. Oh, you did a report on it. Okay. Oh, I thought you had it. Yeah. That's pretty fascinating. So, I'm guessing your balance can be really messed up, because that's what the semicircular canals do. It's part of your automatic equilibrium system. So you've got your cerebellum, the autonomic nerves in your joints, and then your inner ear semicircular canals. Those are the three major parts of balance. It causes schizophrenia? That's strange. How does it cause schizophrenia? Have you heard of Charles Bonnet syndrome? No. You guys are asking me zebras that I've probably learned maybe once in med school and that I've never seen, so I've forgotten them. Let's look it up. Charles Bonnet syndrome, disease in which visual hallucinations occur as a result of vision loss. Not related to psychosis or dementia. People are aware the hallucinations are not real. Oh, so you lose your vision, but then you have visual hallucinations. Strange. That's interesting. I wonder how that gets diagnosed. Like, how, yeah, it'd be interesting if someone comes in with those symptoms. Vertigo. I mean, I've seen a lot of people with vertigo. I've never seen this before. Hearing one's voice or self-generated sounds like breathing and blinking louder than normal. Sensitive loud sounds, blood pressure in ears. See, this would probably get misdiagnosed as Meniere's disease. If you guys are familiar with Meniere's disease. Right. Yeah, the intensity of the internalized sound is really high. That makes sense. There's an opening there where bone would normally be. Hearing their eyes blink? People have heard their reports of people hearing their eyes blink. Sounds like sandpaper. Oh, that sounds so creepy. That would freak me out. Yeah, no, I've never heard of that before. The average age for diagnosis of superior canal dehiscence is 45 years old. That's a really late age to be diagnosed with something like that. I bet there's people that get told they have Meniere's disease then when they have that instead. You're actually blinking right now. I'm blinking too. Amazing. Field disease. Basically, anything that is super rare, we call them zebras. When you hear yeah. When you hear hoofbeats, think of horses, not zebras. Zebras are rare diseases that you would normally never see because everything's a horse, not a zebra. There are very few zebras I've actually seen in person. We're all blinking. Fields disease. No, I've never heard of that either. I've told you, like I said, I have heard of these at one point in my medical training, and like I have so many other things I got to remember that I don't remember these things because I never see them in my life. Rarest known disease is only 2 diagnosed cases. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, if there's only been 2 diagnosed cases, then insulinoma. No, I wouldn't say it's a zebra per se. I mean, it's common enough where like I'm aware of it and have been trained about it, but it's super rare. Mallard. But it's common enough where the average doctor has been trained about it at least. What zebras have I seen? One of the most, I'd say one of the most striking, rare things I've seen was fungal meningitis. Someone actually had a fungal infection in their brain. It was because they had HIV and they weren't taking their medications, and so their immune system was completely just gone. So almost anyone with a normal immune system would never get that kind of an infection. Yeah, I don't think I've seen anything that's like what I would consider exceedingly rare. You know, I've seen some rarer syndromes like, you know, I've seen people with Marfan syndrome, Klinefelter syndrome. I mean, these are things that are like 1% of the population, not fractions of a percent. I've seen some rare dementia issues. I've seen, I saw neurosyphilis once. Someone who had syphilis for so long it went to their brain. It's just that our bodies are better at fighting off fungal infection on its own than like bacterial infection, for example. Most fungal and like major systemic fungal infections, most of them are when you're immunocompromised, but not all of them. Yeah, I saw neurosyphilis. Yeah, we had to give them intrathecal penicillin. It's crazy. That's penicillin like directly into the spinal fluid. What are we talking about, Thrawn? Well, we talked about depression for about an hour and ways to help depression with natural remedies, exercise, meditation, mindfulness, music, animals, pets. If you have romantic partner, sexual activity can help. E.g., I'm not recommending going out to a bar and finding someone to have sex with as a way to treat your depression. But if it's a healthy part of your life, sex can help. And video games. in healthy doses, as long as it's not in, unhealthy kind of addictive type behavior. Video games are actually really helpful and a natural antidepressant. So that's what we were talking about while you were gone, Thron. Now we're talking about just rare medical things. People are asking some interesting questions. Nubasaurus says they can cure. So I'm sure, assuming you're talking about the superior dehiscence thing we talked about earlier. They can cure it with a surgery that closes the hole. Most doctors don't know about it. It's one of the reasons why I asked. Yeah, I didn't know about it. In fact, I'm guessing now. I'm thinking back at some of my patients that have had similar symptoms, and I probably thought they had Meniere's disease, and maybe sent them to a specialist if I wasn't, if they had some, like, if someone has autophony like that, I'm gonna send them to an ENT. They probably need to get an auditory canal MRI. Mast cell disorders. I would say you're getting into subspecialty level. Yeah, like the average primary care doctor does not know anything really about mast cell activation syndrome, how to treat it, etc. You'd probably be needing to talk to an allergist. How many people have I diagnosed with cancer? I don't even want to think about that. A lot. Because my main patient population is older adults. So, yeah, I've had to make that call or have them come into the office way more times than I can count. But in a way, I am glad and honored that I get to be the one to give them that news, because I'd rather give them that news than somebody that doesn't know them very well, because usually when I'm giving that news, it's somebody that had been my patient for a while. But sometimes you have to give that news to someone you just met, just met them in the hospital, or you were taking care of them because they just came in for that symptom and hadn't been in for a while, or their regular doctor was out, and yeah, you got to tell them. It sucks. But someone's got to tell them. How common? Oh, I don't know. I mean, cancer is extremely common. It's one of the most common causes of death if you just look at cancer in general. Cancer is I'm just Googling it. Cancer is the second leading cause of death globally. 1 in 6 deaths every year is due to cancer. So, if you live long enough, your chances of getting cancer are pretty high. Have you heard of people having pneumonia and then they get another scan where they found lung cancer because of pneumonia? Yes, I have seen that, Candy. Recurrent pneumonia, so repeated cases of pneumonia, especially in someone who's older, you have to worry about cancer. In fact, it's cancer until proven otherwise, in my opinion. Good question. Modern environment, literally bathing in chemicals that no one involved. Yeah, I mean, Mallard, the point that I think that is important there is that we are exposed to so many things that, like you said, are not really, we didn't really naturally evolve to be around. And I think there's a lot of things we are probably being exposed to that may be causing harm to us, and we have no idea. We have no idea. I mean, we used to give people medications, and then we'd find out 10, 20 years later, like, that medication's actually horrible for you, right? So there may or may not be environmental exposures that are causing damage right now. Who knows? That's why there's all kinds of, theories about, cell phone waves and, et cetera, because how do we know how those are really affecting us? The answer is we don't. Hell, at one point we thought the world was flat, so just keep that in mind. Yeah, fluoroquinolones are just one of many things. One of many things. Do you think we could ever evolve to fight off cancer better? No. I don't. My personal opinion would be no. The way that cancer works is it mutates and it avoids our immune system. So do infections and cancer. It's like the analogy I always use is like, it's like fighting a war where the other side is just always adapting to the other side's newest thing. Oh, they made this? Well, we're going to make this thing that blocks that. Oh, they made this thing that blocks that? We're going to make this thing that gets around that. And, eventually you're just going to have a nuclear war where you just destroy each other. And so that's kind of what I see as like the apocalypse, honestly, some days. Some infection like COVID that actually kills everybody instead of just 2% of the world. But I don't think we'll ever evolve to avoid cancer. I think it will require like unnatural intervention like medication. Even then, it's a huge challenge. I mean, if you look at chemotherapy success, most cancers, chemotherapy, the success rates are much lower than you would want to be. There's very few where it's like, oh, take this, it's 100% chance you'll get rid of cancer. Like, that's almost never the answer when you have cancer. That's why the C word sucks. Animal size, elephants really get cancer. I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot of things too. There's environmental exposure. Do elephants smoke cigarettes? Do elephants drink their livers away? Do elephants live in environments where they're exposed to all kinds of chemicals? And I don't know. It's hard to compare, right? I don't know what the causes would be of an elephant having lower cancer rate than humans. We also live way longer than we used to. Way longer. And so cancer is super common in old people. I guarantee if you look back at old medical data, cancer was not the leading cause of death, 1,000 years ago when people only lived to be 45 years old. So the fact that we have found ways to keep our bodies alive. I mean, you go talk to a 90-year-old. They are almost all on multiple medications that have helped keep them alive that long. And so eventually something's going to take you, and cancer is one of them. Just the longer you live, the more chance you have for getting cancer. And we have all these, people who have lived way, twice as long as we used to. How bad do you think it would be if either we contacted one of the isolated tribe groups left in the world and really affect us if they contacted us first? Ooh, that's a really fascinating question, Noob. Yeah, so like, for those who don't know what Noob's talking about, like there are civilizations that are relatively untouched by the world. Like they've had their own little island and they are still living in kind of hunter-gatherer type society, and you're not allowed to come on their island. Like they are separate from us. And I think it would be highly dangerous. I think it would be highly dangerous to them, not us. I think it'd be highly dangerous to them. We would expose them to all kinds of stuff that we've been exposed to. I mean, even just moving to a different part of the world, people get sick after they move. Yeah, there are a couple of isolated tribes out there. There was a famous case that happened recently where they killed one of those tribes, killed someone that tried to enter the island. Some tourist who wanted to like go get pictures, and they killed him. I think it was near India. It was in the last like 5-10 years. The virus have to spread somehow, and if it kills too quickly, it can't spread. Kind of like Ebola. Well, yeah, if it kills too quickly. If it kills too quickly, Candy, that's true. It's hard to spread. But if it, let's say it doesn't kill super quickly, but it's still like 100% fatal, it could kill everybody. We were set up for 35, baby. It's true, Mallard. I talk about this a lot. Like, it's weird because like my job is to help people live longer, and it's sort of unnatural, right? Like, we take all these man-made chemicals that basically artificially kind of play God in your body physiologically and keep you alive for much longer. Like, we save people with life-saving surgeries and all kinds of stuff where they would have died, and we live, to 100 years old when if there was no interventions at all, we lived to like 40 to 50 years old. So we now have different problems that occur: dementia, cancer, these end of life things where we've lived way past our natural life cycle. And now we have, things that have popped up and become much more common that you didn't see before. Eventually, everybody just goes and has to come out of it. Didn't we bring smallpox to Mexico? Yeah, exactly. So like people, like when there were explorers that were looking at new parts of the world, and they would bring infections to places and kill people, and that stuff's real. I mean, that stuff's totally legit. Oh, what's your link? Sorry, I'm sorry that I need to fix that link thing. I need to get a mod to help me with that. It's kind of the tourist's fault for going to an island full of people who never saw any outsiders. Yeah, I don't think they should have gone there. I mean, maybe they didn't know that, they were going to get killed, but still, they knew they weren't supposed to go there. You can send me the link in Discord. I can post it if you want me to. The North Sentinel Islands. Is that the one where they killed the tourist who tried to come over there? Yeah, here it is. Yeah, it looks like that's the same link. Similar story, same story. Yeah, I don't know what happened to that. What they were gonna do. All right, well, it's getting close to 11. That's when I usually end this segment, is 2 hours. We should raid someone. We should raid someone's channel while we have lots of active people on it. If you don't want to stay, that's cool. We can just raid and say hi, at least. But I like to end these with raids while we have a good crowd and kind of pump someone's channel up a little bit. I'm looking at who's on. Oh. We can raid Rewolfness. I played him in a game earlier. We've been streamer buds for a while. He's a rank 1 survivor. And I ended up getting queued against him, and we had a really fun game. So there was so much action in that game that they had a 4 escape, and I still almost pipped. I didn't lose a pip, but I actually even almost pipped up. We all had like 25,000 blood points, and they all escaped. So it was a fun game, actually. He's a really nice guy. His thing is he likes to give hugs. He likes to hug new people. He's a really nice guy. Very good DVD player. So we can go say hello and do some emotes. And if you guys have any more questions that you think of, you are more than welcome to post questions in the medical area of the Discord, or you can DM me too if you have any other questions about things that pop up from tonight. Yeah, let's go say hi to Rewolfness. And if you guys want to watch some DVD, he's probably gonna be playing tonight. I think that's what he's playing right now. And then we can continue the conversation in Discord if you want. Let me pull up his stream. Looks like he's got about 10 viewers right now, so this will be good. All right, let me pull up the raid. Well, thank you everybody who hung out, asked questions, listened to me lecture for way too long. I thought tonight was really good, and I like to keep doing this and do different topics. So, all right, well, here we go. We got 11 people. We're ready to go raid Wolfness and raid.